Awesome. All right. So welcome to the No Borders. I guess it is November. Is it November? Oh my goodness, November meeting. So today we have Chris Jones, who works for Rise Against Hunger, who I also work for. Chris Jones is our Director of Organizational Partnerships. Is that correct, Chris?
Close enough, yeah.
Close enough. But he manages our Rotary relationships as well as other organizational relationships that we have. And CJ is a Rotary expert, my Rotary expert, and is going to talk to us today about working together to end hunger. So I'll let you take it away, Chris.
Thanks, Patty. Appreciate the introduction, and just continuing to let everybody know, I have served as a past district governor inside of Rotary, and I'm currently serving as the Rotary coordinator for Zone 33, which is from Delaware over to Eastern Tennessee and down to South Carolina, focused on membership for 15 districts, which is 35,000 clubs and 780 clubs and about 35,000 Rotarians. So.
Wow.
Rotary keeps me very, very busy, and my daytime paying job is with Rise Against Hunger, and I'm very pleased to work with people like Patty who are so passionate about ending hunger in the world, and we are working hard to do so. So I've got, what I have here is a slide deck that I'm going to move through very quickly and just give you a high-level overview of what we do as an organization and how Rotary and Rotaract clubs can get involved, and then I'll wrap that up with a bit of an impact story from some of our Rotarians that actually started with meal packaging and went all the way through to seeing the meals being delivered in country. Does that sound like a good plan to you all?
Sounds great.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So our founder, which is on this slide right here, is Ray Buchanan. He started the organization in 1998 and has watched it evolve into the large, great organization that we are today. I'm not going to read all this information on the slides to you all. You can see the information. And again, I'm just going to go through these very, very quickly. So, you know, our vision and mission is really a world without hunger. And it really is to do that by the year of 2030. And the reason we've chosen 2030 is that aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 2. So we're working very hard to do that. Statistically speaking, there are 815 million people in the world that are chronically malnourished, and 1 in 9 go to bed hungry every night. And it's, you know, really a tragic situation in terms of a very solvable problem. These dots on this map represent where, and I'm colorblind by the way, but I believe the green dots represent where we have offices, and the red dots or orange dots represent where the countries where we have done service. And we have done service in 74 total countries since 2005. So let's get into what we do, and I'm going to skip over the video and just get into, you know, our first objective is really growing the movement. And in 2016, we had 375,000 volunteers participate with us. We're very involved in engagement as well, and advocacy. Our focus is on nourishing lives, and you can see the safety net programs that we work on. We also focus on clean water and sanitation, and a large focus in gift in kind work as well. We're now getting very involved into empowering our communities through agricultural training, income generating initiatives, and microenterprise opportunities. And we do respond to emergencies, and this year has been no shortage of emergencies. We have basically utilized all of our emergency supplies, handling all of the earthquakes, the hurricanes, mudslides, etc., that have happened during 2017. So it's been pretty powerful. I love this slide because it kind of talks about where we started to where we are. And then back in 2006, where you see that first arrow, we did 1.7 million meals. What's interesting about that is the fact that Rotary District 7710 in Raleigh, North Carolina did 1.4 of that 1.7 million meals. So Rotary really has been at the very beginning of what we've been doing and really has thrust us forward to where we are today. And we did over 60 million meals in 16, and we'll do close to 70 million meals during 2017. So some of our key partners are listed here. You'll see Rotary's emblem right there in the middle of the screen. I did not design this slide. It was put together, but I'm thrilled that Rotary is right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And we are a Charity Navigator rated 4-star organization. So we're right up there with the Rotary Foundation in terms of some of our credentialing. This is all led by our CEO, Rod Brooks. Rod is also a very active Rotarian in Cary, North Carolina. He has headed committees. He hasn't been a president yet. We keep talking to him about that opportunity because we think he'd be a great club president, but he's a very busy guy and just really doesn't have the time. But Rod's been a fabulous CEO for us and led us to where we are today. So some of our numbers about where we were in 2016, we impacted more than 1 million lives, 1,040,351 to be exact, and every one of those lives is critically important. And you can see how that breaks down on this slide with, how many youth get serviced, how many meals packaged, et cetera, et cetera. So, and we're on a project called Pathways to End Hunger. And really the focus I want to put on this slide is that we're working through our partners to implement food security and income generating projects to develop the sustainable communities and alleviate poverty. What that basically is saying is that while we are a meal packaging organization and have been known as a meal packaging organization, we're getting very focused and going beyond just packaging meals and helping these communities fend for themselves. It's the old adage of teach a person to fish, give a person a fish, they'll eat for a day. Teach them how to fish, they'll be able to eat for a lifetime. So, and this graph basically shows our growth that we're going to experience between now and 2030 and how our meal packaging is going to go down in terms of the percentage of our overall business, and our agricultural development and small enterprise income generation is going to increase, all while Rise Against Hunger and the impact and the work that we do continues to increase through 2030. So for 2017, this was our vision back at the beginning of the year of how we were going to support the work that we're doing, and we're going to come a little short on the 74 million meals, but we're going to probably exceed the million beneficiaries, and we're definitely going to exceed the 372,000 global volunteers. Excellent. So great work. These are the countries that we're focused on for 2017, and this excludes where the emergency relief took place, so you can get an idea of some of our focus for 2017. And then our meal program types include schools, vocational training, creches, which are very young children, kind of like a nursery school, if you will, and the list goes on there. So, and in 2016, we served, for emergency, we served all these countries and created quite a bit of aid. And that's our target for 2017. I'm just going to skip past that right now. These are some of our partners that we work with in country to deliver our aid that we do. And you may see some familiar names on that list. Some great organizations that we work with. Very reputable. And all of our impact is led by Edna. And the most amazing thing about Edna is that she was a child in Kenya who received meals, and she vowed one day to come back and work for an organization that gave her an opportunity to further her life. And here she is working for us as our Chief Impact Officer. So great story there. We did change our name from Stop Hunger Now to Rise Against Hunger in January of this year, and we're very proud of the name. It's gotten great reviews, and I believe it's a very action-oriented name, very positive action-oriented name, and we're really focused on making sure that the work that we're doing is possible and that the dream of 2030 will come true. And our marketing efforts are all headed up by a gentleman named Tom Barbada. And Tom has some great brand recognition of organizations that he's worked for that you can see there at the bottom of the screen. Continuing on, so let's get a little more into Rotary. So Rotary really thinks highly of Rise Against Hunger. They've done a lot for us, and a lot for us that we haven't asked for. So they provided an article in the March edition of the Rotarian magazine for us. They've invited us to package at district at international conventions. Rotarians have packaged more than 30 million meals with us. We've had 5 districts complete 1 million meal projects in a year. And I'm challenging districts to continue to meet that. This is our list of conventions that we've been to and the number of meals that we've packaged, and we're looking forward to being in Toronto in 2018. So what is in the bag? What's in the meal packaging bag that we get? Well, the most important ingredient is the micronutrient packet that is developed by Kraft Heinz and produced for us by Kraft Heinz. It also has soy, dried vegetables, and rice, and the soy is what we use here in the U.S. Other parts of the world we are using some non-GMO products. So you can see the nutritional facts there. So one meal really does very well take care of an individual and make sure that they're well fed as well as well nourished. Mm-hmm. So in the U.S., it equates to 29 cents per meal if you want to participate in starting a meal packaging event, and it lists there what you get. And what does your club need to do? Well, you got to find a place to hold the event, find some volunteers, and there's some examples of some volunteer groups that you can find to help with this. And basically, you need to do some fundraising to raise the money to do the event, but most importantly is have fun while you're doing the event. Patty's been to a number of these, I've been to a number of these, and Patty, would you agree these events are a blast?
Yep, always a good time.
Always a good time. So for the Rotary clubs and the Rotaract clubs, it's a great hands-on international service project, and the list goes on here, but it does build public image, it does build membership opportunities. It's a great youth services project to get involved with, and it does very well align with the Rotary Foundation's 6 areas of focus. And let me get to that. So in terms of peace and conflict prevention and resolution, you know, a lot of our meals are going into war-torn areas, and hunger is one of the big issues in those areas, so we take care of that. Our meals are very nutritious, so we handle the disease and the disease prevention and treatment. We're very focused on clean water and sanitation. You have to have clean water to cook the meals. Many of the places our meals go are focused on maternal and child health, as well as basic educational literacy through our school feeding programs. And we're working very diligently on creating economic and community development projects in our sustainable development portfolio. So we do support all 6 areas of focus with the Rotary Foundation. And I think this slide really kind of talks about the power of Rotary, and this is really focused on the Rotary clubs. Rotaract plays a huge part in this as well. You know, there are more than 35,000 Rotary clubs around the world, 1.2 million members, 200 countries and geographic territories. You know, Rotary can get to places that many organizations can't get to, and Rotary partnering with Rise Against Hunger just means that we're going to get that much closer to ending hunger by the year 2030. So, you know, what Rotary does, we connect people. I'm putting my Rotary hat on as I'm talking about this, but we connect people, we transform lives, and we inspire people to do the great work that we do. And of course, Rotaractor is no different than any of that. So let me get into this quick impact story to tell you a little bit about a couple that found us at the Sao Paulo Convention and went ahead and decided to do their very first Rotary meal packaging event in the UK ever, and follow the meals all the way through to their delivery point. Their names are Eric and Irene Russell, an amazing couple. And again, they came and found us at the convention in Brazil purely by accident. They had not planned to be at that convention. They ended up deciding to go on vacation. They got an email about the convention in Brazil at the same time. They figured, all right, we'll go to Rio for a few days, end up at the convention, and voila, here they are, one of our biggest advocates throughout all of the UK. They did a 100,000 meal pack event in Warrington, which is just outside of Manchester, and then they followed those meals through the delivery process all the way to Kibera, Kenya. And the picture here gives you a visual of the village, and that's the actual village. It's the largest slum in Africa. You can see the population, very densely populated, no sewage system, no running water. These are the shacks that they live in, if you can call it that. And you can see some of these stats. 1 in 5 children won't reach their 5th birthday. Half the population is under the age of 15, and the average life expectancy is 30 years old. Tough life, tough place to live. And you can see, again, some more visuals here of the environment that they're in. The kids that do have the opportunity and privilege to go to school are very focused. They work very hard. I love these pictures. And these are the real pictures from the trip of Eric and Irene that they took. You know, just these beautiful, bright-eyed children that are healthy now because of the meals that they're receiving from Rise Against Hunger. They're able to get a great education because their tummy isn't going through hunger pains, and you know, they're able to focus on their schoolwork. This is Eric actually cooking the meals. He didn't want to just watch. He wanted to be an active participant. So he was involved in that. The good news is these meals have increased the number of children attending school. They all get a hot meal every day, and a lot of times it's probably their only meal. And that's the reason a lot of these parents send their kids to school, is because that might be the only meal they get. They happen to get an education as a byproduct of going to get that meal. But that education is going to give them their way out of poverty and their way out of hunger. So this is what they do. They queue up, or they line up, they wash their hands, they get ready. Here they are in line, ready to go get their food. And they take their meals back to their classrooms to eat. And then the particular meals they cooked here in Kibera, they added some beans to them for some flavor. And again, these kids just, you know, they melt my heart in terms of seeing their happiness from the meals that they're getting. They wanted to have a selfie with Eric and Irene, so there's that picture. And they went off to a second school in Nendogo, not quite as wealthy as the prior school that we just saw. This is your basic classroom that the desk that they learn in. That's your school kitchen. So that's where the meals are cooked. Think about where your meals are cooked compared to that. And again, they're lining up for their food. And look at the container that this child in the front has. It's just a little Tupperware container that he literally picked up at the local dump on his way to school. And you know, this little guy's wearing his Christmas sweater, ready for food. And this little guy came up and did not even have a container. He had a lid. And Eric and Irene scrambled and found him an actual container that he could have his food in. So just amazing. You know, they're just continuing to feed these kids. And as it says here, these kids are the lucky ones. You know, they get a hot meal every day. Their health is going to improve through the nutrition of the meals that they get. And they're going to get that education that's going to get them out of this situation so that they can have some skills and move forward. And it's all thanks to Rotary and Rise Against Hunger working together. So that's a high-level overview of our organization. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen if I can figure out how to do that, and come back to the camera. How do I stop sharing? Oh, there we are. Stop share. And you're back to seeing that beautiful picture that I have no idea where it's coming from. So anyway.
That's so funny. I have no idea where that picture is coming from either. Very strange.
Amazing.
Okay.
No clue.
So what questions do you have? I don't think Patty's going to have any, but Matthew, you might have a few.
Yeah, well, I'm the kind of person, I need to like watch it a few times and go back through it and read up on it because I love the contextualization behind it. But do you use things like Shelter Box? Do you work with them for the emergency relief?
So that's a great question, and I have had discussions with Shelter Box about combining our meals in both with Shelter Box and with disaster aid. And there are some logistical challenges of getting the meals to go along with the boxes. How do they store the meals? How do they make sure the meals don't go bad because they have a 2-year shelf life? So we're working through some of these logistical challenges to see if we can't align a partnership so that when a Rotary Club or a Rotaract Club decides to order a shelter box or a disaster aid box, they also have the opportunity to click on a button that says, I want to send some food along with that. So still
organization or any sort of a support network for people trying to coordinate these relief efforts? Like a international logistics support group for nonprofits like this?
Patty, I'm not aware of anything. Are you?
Not really.
No?
No, it's kind of every charity for themselves.
See, and that's where I want to end up in the nonprofit world is there. So
Yeah.
like, it interests me to see what's not currently there, because there's so much more coordinated impact and stickiness of these things, like the education efforts and the water efforts, like maternal health. All of these in concert can have such a more sustainable impact. So that just fascinates me. But okay.
Well, there's a business opportunity for you to get into.
Yeah. No, I'm probably gonna head there in a few years. So let's see, what else is there? How do you decide on the makeups of the meal initially?
So the meals are made up of the ingredients that are in there are made up so that they're really usable anywhere in the world. And they're more usable outside the United States. The United States palate has a preference to macaroni and cheese. There's not a whole lot of nutritional value in macaroni and cheese. So the makeup of the meals really focuses on the nutritional value, the acceptability throughout the rest of the world, and the ease of getting the ingredients. You know, rice is pretty much available.
How was that process begun? Like, how was it that you decided on what was going to work first and experimented and refined it and tested it? Because if taste is a factor, taste has to be, tested, and supply chain balance. So just how was that whole process?
You're going way back before my time. So Patty, maybe you have a little bit more information on that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, we worked with, so our headquartered in Raleigh, North Carolina. So we actually, the very first recipe, the whole program that we have, there's a couple of organizations that do a similar project with the meal packing and the meals. And so we all originally had the same recipe. It was just founded by the guy that had the idea. I'm not quite sure where he originally got his recipe, but we went on very shortly after to test it with the university. It was NC State University. We worked with them to develop a better formula, and then from there we actually partnered with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and we partnered with them to do more taste testing and make it more nutritious. So we've changed the composition of the meals a couple times, and then the most recent composition that we did was actually designed by Kraft Heinz, and they donate our micronutrient sachet that's in the meals. So they helped us develop, really the rest of the ingredients haven't changed much. It's really the micronutrient sachet that ends up varying. Hey, we can see your face, Chris.
You can see me now. There we go. Perfect.
But yeah, it's really the micronutrient sachet that's changed over time. Everything else has pretty much stayed the same, but we do have we have somebody on our staff that's part of his job is to always be looking for ways to either make it more nutritious or, right now the in demand is actually non-GMO, and it's like 98% of soy, especially in the United States, is GMO soy. And so we've actually started doing more meal packaging in the UK because everything in the UK is non-GMO. So, and also in most of Europe as well. So a lot of the demand is coming from that non-GMO factor. So we're still kind of exploring opportunities to maybe change out our soy and do something different. But yeah, it is scientific, and I was never part of the scientific conversations, but we did work with universities that helped us to develop the initial, and then Kraft Heinz. And it's funny because they do with the taste. I remember them coming back and forth a couple times with Kraft Heinz because their first round of vitamins and minerals, they thought they got it all right. And then the taste test was, I think after a couple of times, they were like, it kind of tastes a little too mineral-y and doesn't really taste, And at one point we had a chicken flavoring in our vitamins, and then they were like, well, it's not great for the countries that we send it, and it's vegetarian. I don't think they're a big fan of that. And so we ended up taking the chicken flavoring out. And so it's really interesting. And, and we vary it around the world too. So in India, we have an office, and they have a completely different meal makeup than we do. Oh. In the Philippines, they have 6 flavors of meals because they realized that nobody was adding anything to them. And so they added, and they have a coconut, a chocolate for dessert, and then they have fish, chicken, beef, and something else that I'm missing. But pretty cool.
Yeah. So how much does it cost to ship just one meal?
That's a good question.
To ship one meal?
Yeah, to buy it. Yeah.
But it's 29 cents US for the meal. There are 6 meals in the bag, so it's $1.74 a bag. We ship them in full container loads, 285,120 meals. So there are 14,256 meals on a pallet. There are 20 pallets on a container, or in a container. So, and it probably runs, depending on where it's going, anywhere between $5,000 and $8,000 to get the container from port to port.
Okay. I guess part of it is thinking less about, yes, the packaging and the delivery, but also in terms of awareness efforts, like the sort of thing where it would be great to have some of that on hand at an event and people can try it and understand what it is and how it works, and maybe different flavors from around the world to see kind of what those flavor profiles are. So
that's a valid point. We do a lot of times cook meals at the events themselves. I'll tell you a quick story. We did a warehouse event with some Rotarians here in the Charlotte market not too long ago. We had 25 Rotarians on hand, and the warehouse manager made meals while a meeting was going on, and then we packaged 2,000 meals. So he cooked up 3 bags of meals, so enough for 18 people. There were 6 meals in a bag, and there were 25 of us there, and we could only eat about half of what was prepared because we were full. It was so dense and so filling that we could only get through half.
And it tasted okay, which I think is part of the reason why I'm so curious about getting hands-on for trials, because you could ship them soylent. That doesn't mean it's going to go well. But, that popular meal replacement thing. But the thing is, I just see it as much more visceral, which is always something every nonprofit wants to get that in front of people, and a sort of a sticky impact. And I think that meal testing seems like it would be a great way of doing it. But maybe I'm just hungry. That could just be part of it.
It is that, I don't know what time zone you're in, but it is that time of day for us here. So where are you located, Matthew?
Seattle.
Alejandro just joined us, and he's in Mexico, so he's on our time zone now.
Very good. And Matthew, we just did a meal packaging event in Bellingham 2 weekends ago.
Oh, great. With Rotary Club?
The Rotary Club of Bellingham.
Excellent.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Well,
so, but we can probably get you a meal. In fact, if you share your address with Patty, I'm sure we can get you a meal so that you can try your own.
We'll figure out, because if we do something like that, it would be good to have the club coordinate just something like that.
Yep.
Because again, if it's the kind of thing that's usually shipped in some sort of bulk, we'd like to have a coordinated effort there too. But I can take it out into the community. I can make it work.
I participate. This is off topic a little bit, but I participate in an e-club meeting on Tuesday evenings, and the 5th Tuesday when we meet is Brew Tuesday. We always bring our favorite beer to the meeting, and since it's an e-club meeting, we can all share the beer that we're drinking. So maybe your club could do a Rise Against Hunger meal event where everybody gets their own envelope of meals. They cook it up, and then they're eating the meal with their own flavoring during the meeting. So
yeah.
Cooking challenge.
There you go.
How funny.
We are trying to look for more fellowship kind of things like that, though. Beer has been suggested.
Yes.
The alcohol seems to be a wide attraction methodology. So,
although one of the things we do want to do with the membership, besides fellowship, is also highlight the cultures. And so the fact that there are Rise Against Hunger offices everywhere means that each member could have their own localized flavor.
Absolutely.
And that would give more publicity to the club, because then we're all doing outreach in our communities. So it's something worth considering, I think.
Yep.
So those are my questions. Yeah, those are most of my questions.
Well, great. Well, welcome to the meeting, Alejandro. Do you have any questions for us?
He is staying silent. He is at work right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Hiding at work while doing a meeting. Cool. Well, I think I am going to stop our recording. Thank you, Chris, for jumping on with us and sharing
Absolutely.
about Rise Against Hunger. And hopefully we'll be able to work with that in some way.
If we have follow-up questions or we have project ideas, how can we best reach you?
So you can reach me by emailing cjones@riseagainsthunger.org.
Okay.
Cool. I'll put that in our online meeting. I'll put it in the notes there.
Because I know that Patty could also take care of all that, but I'm trying to get in the habit of let's do our outreach and not put everything on Patty. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Patty's a busy person.
Yeah, you probably noticed she's kind of a workhorse. So.
Yes, she is a workhorse. She hasn't learned to say no yet. So
yeah, don't get used to it. I'm working on it.
She didn't even say no to that. She's just like, yeah.
Yes. Oh gosh. All right. Well, cool. I think I'm gonna hit stop recording. Thanks, y'all, and until next time.